Welcome back to another episode of the A-10 Insider Podcast here on the Field of 68 Media Network. My name is Rob Doster. I have Jeff Goodman with me, and we are joined today by the coach of one of the hottest teams in not just the Atlantic 10, in all of college basketball, winners of 8 of their last 9 and coming off of a win over LaSalle, 96-66 on Tuesday night in the Siegel Center. We have Ryan Odom, VCU head coach. Ryan, let me start with this, man. Do you guys have water back? Like, is everything,
We
can
had
you take
water's
showers after
back.
the games?
Yeah.
Everything good to go
Yeah.
down there?
We're all good. It was a rough week, for everybody here in Richmond and even beyond. That was a very weird situation. It took us back to, COVID protocols and times when, we had no fans in the stands. So it was an interesting time, but we got through it, and it certainly did, make us all appreciate what we have for sure.
Like running water and warm water?
Yeah. Yeah. We were back to boiling water just to brush your teeth. I mean, like it was kind of crazy. It really was.
So last time I saw you in person, Ryan, was down there in Charleston around Thanksgiving, and things did not go all that well for you. You lost a couple close ones down there, and I'm gonna blame it on your brother, Lane, who's
Yeah.
down there living in Charleston. I don't know if he took you to like halls, took you to those steak places and filled you up too much, and you have banana pudding or whatever. But
Yeah.
what were you thinking back then? Because again, those were games that I know you were hoping to win, close games. Seton Hall, Nevada. There, again, Nevada's a good team. Seton Hall struggled a little bit this year. What were you thinking coming out of Charleston, and how did maybe those losses alter your season? Because from there, certainly you got a lot better.
Yeah, there's no question about it. I mean, I think you certainly learn through not having the total success that you want. I mean, I think certainly in both of those games, it could have gone the other direction, and we could have come out of there with 2 wins, and who knows what happens in the third game. We were playing pretty well, going into the tournament, and so we felt good, going down there. We'd opened up pretty strong, with the first few games. Particularly the Boston College game up in Annapolis. But we knew certainly that first one was going to be a tough test. Shaheen's a great coach. They're really tough, and aggressive, and they certainly were ready. They had one kid, who banged some key threes for them in that game that, was not technically known as a shooter, and that happens from time to time where you're going to run into that. But the bigger problem was, offensively, we struggled, and we weren't getting the quality looks that we needed. We were taking some hard twos and really not playing good basketball on that side. And, Phil, at that point wasn't playing like he's playing now. He had a rough tournament, down there and didn't play a ton. Christian Furman in the Nevada game, I think he played 4 minutes, and fouled out, something like that. So it was just a little bit different. I think we were up 15 maybe on Nevada and ended up losing. And so, and we had a really good half, but we didn't put 2 halves together, in that game. But you have to give those teams credit, and you have to give our guys credit for their response, from there. That third game is hard. And you lose 2 in a tournament, and you have to go into that last game where you could go 0-3. A little bit of pressure there.
Yes.
And our guys treated it as a regular non-conference game. I mean, that was the message to them, was don't worry about it. Like, you're playing an ACC team on a neutral court. This is a non-conference game. It doesn't matter. All 3 of these games matter equally, and we need to play our best. And it was good to come out of there with a win, and that gave us some momentum going forward.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned Phil Russell. Just it feels like having another veteran kind of presence in that backcourt next to Max is maybe taking some of the pressure off him. I think if you go back and look at the teams that win national titles and make runs in tournaments, there's always those 2 different playmakers, right? It's not just one point guard. You got a couple ball handlers and a couple facilitators, and it feels like Phil has kind of filled that role for you, so to speak.
Yeah, Phil is a tough dude. First and foremost, he's a major competitor, and he's really helped our team from that perspective because he's so confident. He's constantly, involved in plays and really trying to win every play, while he's out there. And I would add Zeb to that as well. Zeb, is another guy. He started every game last year for us. And so when you have, you have to play against Phil and Max and Joe's playing good basketball right now. And then all of a sudden, you sub in Zeb, off the bench, that's another, guy that really, can impact, the other team. And Brandon Jennings is playing well, freshman for us. He's done a really nice job. And so that core group, of guards is tough. And Phil is a big, big part of that.
You guys are old. I mean, listen, you're right. I mean, other than, again, Brandon, like you're pretty old, and
yeah,
that probably helps you get through some of those ups and downs now, doesn't it? It takes maybe a little while to get adjusted, bringing in some new pieces, but a lot of these guys have been through adversity and, maybe a 3-game losing streak, whatever it is, to be able to kind of get past it, where some of those young guys, you have to almost live it to understand it, don't you?
Yeah, there's no question. Experience is everything, right? And when you have, the experiences, both good and bad, all right, you're able to deal with you don't get too ahead of yourself, and don't put too much pressure on yourself. And I think, there's two things that stick out to me. It's being able to fix it while you're in the game. And our guys have been pretty good at that. We've given up some runs. We're at St. Joe's and go up 10, and then all of a sudden we make a couple of mistakes, and it's a 10-0 St. Joe's run, and it's a tie game. We have to respond. Well, mature teams can respond in those situations. Rhode Island, similar thing up there. We were up pretty big, and they roared back, and we finished the half on a positive note, and then we're able to win there. And so you fix it in games, but then you also have to fix it after games, like the St. Louis situation where, we did not play our best. And there were certainly reasons why. St. Louis did a really nice job, in that particular game. And our guys came out of that game with really open eyes and were willing to, first and foremost, hold themselves accountable, but also, one another. And it was a collective, teaching moment for us. And we've played well since. The last 2 games have been good. They came out with, a fire and then also a purpose, I think, more than anything.
The thing I love about the A-10 this year is that it's looking like it's kind of, I mean, St. Louis is still good. You guys still have to go play at Dayton, but having George Mason and VCU at the top of the conference and that rivalry in the Commonwealth, the old school CAA battles. I say this all the time. I think the craziest environment I've ever been in for a basketball game was a 2011 CAA semifinal game between George Mason and VCU. I think it was right after, might have been the year after Shaka made it to the Final Four, but like you got the Peppas over here and you got Doc Nix and the Green Machine over here, and it's half green and gold and it's half black and gold. And just I love that these two programs have kind of gotten to the point where they can compete for championships again, because I just think it's great for the sport, it's great for the state, and frankly, it's great for the A-10.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Coach Skin and his staff and their players have done a great job, this season, not only in conference, but out of conference as well. I don't think they've lost a game since maybe they lost one, I guess, but, one since November or something like that, which is, remarkable. And so a lot of credit goes to them.
They lost by 3 at URI and they lost at Duke. So
yeah,
that's it.
There you go. And so they're obviously a really good basketball team, and I know their defense is excellent, and they're finding ways to really score as well. So it's going to be a fun matchup, when we face them, later in the season here in a couple of weeks.
All right. So I have a question, a little bit off topic, but you've won 2 games by 30 and 41 points the last 2.
Yeah.
What's it like as a coach now? Because with the net, it kind of changes some coaches' approaches, right? Because again, you don't know what to do, Ryan. Like, you obviously don't want to run it up on anybody, but also on the other side is, hey, listen, we want to get our net right now in a spot where maybe we can get back to that at-large discussion. How difficult, and then you're talking about walk-ons. Do you play them? Do you not play them? Like, what's going through your head in some of those? And did you make like a decision even before the year or before a year ago what you were going to do in these situations?
Yeah, I think there's this thing called karma, right? And I don't think you ever want to do anything in our game that would be disrespectful, right? To your opponent. We encourage our guys to try to win every possession, right? And that comes in different ways. Certainly, we pressed this year, and so I haven't pressed every year of my coaching career. The UMBC teams probably were the closest to it, that picked up full court. We weren't trapping a lot, and this team doesn't trap a lot. We trap some, but it is full court pressure, every play. And when you get in a situation where, the game has kind of been decided, you try to pull it off. You're not staying up there, continuing to press. And we haven't been perfect at that at times. There's a delicate balance of trying to figure out when that is. The last game, the younger guys got a ton of minutes, and we're able to play. But as it relates to the net and that stuff, I mean, I'm a big believer. It's like you just have to win games. You're going to have some games, where the numbers and the metrics don't exactly match up the way you need them to, and maybe you lose a few spots, or maybe you hit the metric and you go up 4 or 5 spots. But ultimately, is the committee really going to keep you out because you didn't beat a team by this number?
You would hope not. Right?
You would hope not. And so I think you just have to do the best that you can, and while being respectful of who you're playing against, and because they're trying to win too.
Do you think they should cap the efficiency numbers, Ryan? So
I would, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, I think so. I mean, our biggest problem at our level is the access, right? And it's hard for us to get the games. There's just no secret. Teams in our league. I know Mason played Duke, but they did that. They got bought to go down there. We shouldn't have to get bought, to go play high major teams. It just is what it is. Like, we need to have access to those. So I would be in favor of, hey, take my schedule. You make the schedule. Have a governing body that does the schedule, and
that
then
would be awesome.
Let's do it that way, as opposed to like having the coaches and ADs figure that out.
I volunteer to make the schedules for everybody. I would be all in on that one.
No, that is not what we need in the world of college basketball. That is not what we need.
Who would I load up, Duster? Who would I load up with the toughest schedule in the country? This may be a better conversation off air at this point, Ryan.
I was going to say
you love it. I gave you something to talk about now.
I would love it. Like, it would honestly, it might be my dream job. It might be my dream job. I could annoy a lot of people.
Oh yeah. Yeah, too much. Know too much. Let's put these two guys together.
Right. Oh, no question. Hey, the first matchup, Ryan?
Yeah.
Arizona State against UConn. That would be my first matchup.
That's why you can't have this job. That's why you're not allowed to have this job, Jeff. All right, Ryan, you mentioned the pressing, and I wanted to kind of hit you on that, right? This is as much as you've turned people over, as except for the team after the Virginia upset when you were at UMBC, right? According to my numbers at KenPom and my intense data analysis here.
That year we trapped every ball screen, I think. That was a pretty good defensive team, that UMBC team. I remember that. I forgot about that. Go ahead.
And then you also have as much rim protection as I think you've probably ever had in your coaching career with some of the guys that you have here. Is this just a nature of what VCU basketball kind of wants and kind of what I don't want to say the brand of this program is, but it kind of like that's what people associate VCU with, is because the success that Shaka had and how good he was at branding havoc in VCU and all that. Is that just a product of the pieces that you have and the way that you guys play? Was there any thought to this, or did you just see, hey, we got these really good guards and a bunch of rim protectors, let's go press people and have fun with it?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't do it at Utah State. That wasn't our makeup, at that particular time. We didn't have, the the quickness. We had the skill, we had the skill, and we had to play a certain way. We did it a different way defensively. We still had a very good defense, our last year at Utah State. And at UMBC, it was a little bit different. We did have some quick guys, and guys that could put pressure on the basketball. And I think ultimately, I'm fortunate in that I've never worked for my dad, and I've worked for a bunch of different guys, but then I've also played for Tony Shaver, at Hampton Sydney, right down the road here, 50 miles away. And that's the way we played. It was the old Carolina system back when, in the 80s, and some of the 90s, where Dean was trapping all the time. And they had that Carolina system, and that's what we did. And it's basically what Havoc is. It's back traps, it's on the ball traps, it's pressing full court and really putting pressure, on the defense. And certainly that's something that, we've tried to do here this year. We tried to start it last year, but with Joe being out, the first however many games and not being allowed to play. And then when Sean had his injury and missed the first 10, 12 games, we lost all momentum. But when we went overseas to Greece, we were pressing, every play, much like we are right now. And, fortunately for us this year, we've been able to stick with it. We've trained them to do it from the very beginning. And it's gone well for us. It's become who we are and our identity. And certainly we want to recruit to it and stay with it, here at VCU. It's been good for us. And it's a fun style to play in, right?
Yeah.
But it takes a lot of work.
Yes.
It takes a lot of work, so there's times they don't like it because they're dead tired. Right. And we're showing them film like you didn't get up here on this one. It's like, oh, yeah, coach, I'm dead. Right. Okay. Well, you got to come out of the game. Right. You have to play till exhaustion. We have another guy to put in. Last year we didn't have that. So it's each year, each season can take a life of its own, and you have to, figure it out along the way of what's best for that particular group.
It also helps when you got a couple guys at the rim that could put the ball through the backboard just about anytime you need to, right?
There's no question about it. I mean, you mentioned that. You have Luke back there. You have Firm. I mean, Firm was great last night. They're really good rim protectors, and our defense is not as good when those guys are out of the game. But we do have the flexibility to play small too, which I like.
This is not something that Goodman will understand, but I don't think I've ever seen somebody with a block rate as high as Luke's block rate is. It's like 15.7.
What do you mean I won't understand that? I know block rate. Come on, block rate isn't. Now, there's some other stats that I have no idea what you're talking about. Block rate, I know. Trust me.
Yeah,
that's not.
He's. I
mean, it's a huge
insane.
weapon. Yeah, it's a huge weapon. There's no doubt about it. And his timing and positioning has been excellent. And I mean, he's blocked 3-point shots. Like, he's recovered and all of a sudden blocked 3-point. I think he had one at, where was it? We were on the road somewhere, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was an incredible play. It was like, you remember what was the guy from Syracuse in the national championship game? Warwick. Yeah. I mean, he blocked that corner three. It was like that. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah.
Hey, Ryan, there was, I don't know, newspaper story a month or so ago. I don't remember exactly when it was, but it mentioned something about your revenue sharing for next season being somewhere in that like $3 to $4 million range. Tell me if I'm wrong, but my memory kind of sucks these days. I'm at a different house every 2 weeks, so I don't even know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to give you the exact. I think we were a little disappointed the exact numbers were out there, right? Yep. And I can't tell you that they're exact.
But they were high. Like a lot of people when they saw that from VCU, they were shocked. I mean, I got texts from coaches around the country. How much of a priority? Obviously, you've got a really good AD and Ed McLaughlin. You've got resources. You've got support in the community. How much are you going to be able to, again, with if this whole thing goes through and you got revenue sharing and everything like that, be a real player with just about anybody, not just in the A-10, but around the country?
Well, that's the goal, right? Is if you want to be a top 25 program, well, there's a financial aspect to that, right? And for VCU, it's always been, okay, scholarship, facilities, and for everybody, it's been that, right? And how do you take care of the kids? Like we have everything that a high major program has in terms of travel, in terms of how we feed them, full-time chef, facilities, the fingerprint entry, they can get in here whenever they want. There's nothing mid-major about this job and this program. And so there's been a change. There's been a major shift. And there have been other shifts, along the way, but none this seismic. And VCU has always stepped up because they understand what this basketball program means to the city and what this basketball program means to the university. And they want to compete with the best of the best. And, that's one of the reasons that I took this job. Certainly not the only reason, but one of the reasons that I took this job, a few years ago, because you want to be at a place, that cares and wants to chase excellence. And I think certainly the, revenue share and NIL aspect, is really, really important right now. And if you're not investing, you're not going to get the right players that you need. And it's on the coaches to put their own value on these kids, and figure out, who's best for you and who's the right fit, for you, and not get in, bidding wars, so to speak, or whatever you want to call it. Don't come to VCU just because of the money, in other words, right? Don't come here just because we do have a good amount relative to a lot of schools. All right. But it's more about the experience, the name on the front of the jersey. And we're trying to build a program here rather than just,
you need to
be all
I think
about
the key
cash.
is, not to cut you off, but I think the key is you need to be able to have a competitive number so that you can sell the kids on the experience, right? Like there's going to be a minimum that's got to get you into the conversation. It's like this with any walk of life, right? There's a number that can get you in the conversation. It's deciding I will value this. I don't have to get 100% of what someone else is asking, but get me like most of the way there. And I'm going to come here because this is going to be better for me long term. Yeah. And keeping guys
is huge, right?
Yeah. Retention's number one, to me, because that's how you build a program. If you're constantly having to churn it and turn it over every year, that's not going to be a good thing. And it's not good for your fan base either, because they want to get to know the players.
Yep.
This is not that they'll go watch the NBA, and the NBA has changes too. But like, if we change more than the NBA, it's going to be a problem. Yep. And so it's not to say that you don't have situations where kids need to look elsewhere and go elsewhere. We have 2 on our team that have really helped us this year. But we don't need, 10, every year. I still value the relationships and the ability to help guys grow and get better. And, Coach Max 4 years, we had a kid, you remember Jamon Gordon that played for us at Virginia Tech?
Yeah.
So he came back here to VCU for our game against St. Bonaventure. And so he spent 2 days with our team. Well, he and I were together 4 years. I was an assistant coach. Like, we were tight, and to have him come back and be around our guys here, was really special. He's 40 years old now, which is pretty cool. Like,
makes you feel old, doesn't it?
Yeah. ACC Defensive Player of the Year. And, those type of relationships are what you want. If you're only together for 1 year, it makes it hard to kind of have that.
Last one I have for you is just, what was your phone like that day when that story came out and that number came out? I assume your phone blew up.
Oh, yeah. I had coaches calling me. I had everybody calling me that day. It was like, and I didn't even know because I'm not on social media. So I had no idea what they were calling about. Like, what is this article?
I figured.
But it's all good.
Hey, it's better to be a have than a have not, Ryan. Whatever the number is, right? Like, you don't want that number to be a 0. If it's a 0, you need to go somewhere else.
Good point.
Well, if you ever need someone to come in and kind of be the general manager to oversee all that, you can have Goodman. I won't even make you pay a buyout. You can have him. He's yours.
I'm going to be in Charleston. No, I'm not living in Richmond. I'm going to be in Charleston, okay? Me and Lane are going to be going out for dinners.
Hey,
There you
I'll
go.
tell you what. I'll tell you what. This is a little sneak preview. But if you need help scheduling the first night of the season, we got you. I promise you on that one.
Oh,
First
I
day of the
love it.
season, we can help you out with that one. So,
I love it. I love it. We will keep that in mind. I'll have Kelsey get in touch with you guys.
all
All
right, listen,
right.
Ryan, we appreciate you, man. Thanks for jumping on. It's always good to catch up. Best of luck this season, and look, go start working on the film. You got Dayton on Friday, man, on the
I
road. That's not
know.
going to be an
Big
easy one.
big game. Not going to be easy. There's no doubt
Hey,
about it. They're really good.
I don't think you're going to win that one by 30 or 40. All right, if
No,
you win it.
not a chance. Not a chance.